my Viking purple, and today was the start of school for us. We're back to school at Davies, and so my big thing is going back to school. I was all worried about how I wasn't really worried about the cell phone thing. It's a non-starter, folks. I can tell you that the students have embraced the fact that they can't have their cell phones. I can tell you it was interesting because I wondered what were these kids going to do. Some had books. Some just hung out and stared at the ceiling. Other people went outside and used their phones outside. But, it's a non-issue. And I said it before that kids will adapt. Now, this is the first day, and everything seems to be going swimmingly. And I have to applaud our administration, our administrators, because as a proctor, we were briefed pretty well on how this was going to roll out and everything we could do to minimize the stress caused by this new policy. And to the students' credit, we didn't have anything. Even kids that got their phone removed, I was amazed that they were just like, "Oh yeah, I forgot," and it wasn't like a big deal. And the administrators who ended up handling the situation, it was just a, "Hey, this is the way the policy now," and everything was fantastic. With that, I have to tell you, if you can't hear now, first of all, I did not take my medicine, so I'm hyped up from that. But second of all, watching these babies come back to school and the kids that were there last year, and then they came back, some of them were like, "Hey, you came back," and other ones were like, "Oh man, he came back." But just to see them again and then see the new babies, the ninth graders come in that are just wide-eyed and standing at the door and looking at this monolithic structure like, "Oh my gosh, it's about to go down." And then seeing the teachers excited. And I mean, it was something that just pumped me up, And when I think of Fargo and when I think of everything that's good, I have to say the first day of school has become one of my favorite things that happened this year because it was way different than I expected. It was fun. I mean, of course, the other thing I forgot is, and I don't know if you guys did this when you were growing up, but you got school clothes when you went back to school. And I have to tell you that it was so much fun to see the kids that had their back to school clothes on. And then there were the kids that had from last year that had their official uniform, which is a white T-shirt and pants, but all of it was clean and their shoes were clean. And it was just like, it was the back to school. And so, everything so far started off on a good note, and I'm real pumped up about that. On the flip side of that, I'm watching the TV in front of me, and there has been another shooting in Minneapolis at a school, and it's like the backdrop of what I just said and the reality of what I'm saying on TV is just. It's hard for me to process, and I want to tell everybody at this point, if you would just, say a prayer for everybody involved in that thing. I mean, it's tragic, and it's happening over and over again, and I don't think it's about gun control. I think it's about people that have some issues and all of the things that are happening in our society today. There's a lot of pressure on people, and nobody knows why people act the way they do, but it's something that I said it last year. Forget thoughts and prayers, And I've always said that until it happens to you or until you're affected, you just kind of, you do the thing where you feel something and then you move on with your existence. Now, we've been fortunate in Fargo, okay? And I'm gonna put it right here. We've been fortunate in Fargo. But I said it last week. If we don't pay attention to our young people and our people that are in need, people that need the engagement center that's downtown, the crisis centers, rape and abuse, if our public officials don't pay attention, things like this can happen in Fargo. We do not exist in a vacuum, and it's important that we take care of the people of this community and do as much as we can to prevent things like this happening. Now, along those lines, law enforcement can only do so much. And I happen to think that we have a great law enforcement entity in the city of Fargo, some incidents notwithstanding. And I think people in Fargo need to gravitate to that fact and get a hold of it, because right now, there's some turmoil in this thing. And it's like, if you are a citizen in this town, I want you to seriously take a look at how many deaths and how many violent crimes has taken place in the past 3 years. It's nominal. Okay? It's nominal. Don't let them get you pumped up to where you're going, we need change. Okay? I can tell you that even a few years ago, the number of DUI checkpoints was through the roof. You know, I see patrolmen out on the street. I see them on scooters. I see them on bikes. I see them on foot. Let's cut them some slack. Let them do their jobs. And let's work with them. With that, I'm done. I'm over it. I just saw this on the TV. There's my rant for the day. And I'm going to try to shift gears because, again, something like the tragedy in Minneapolis, we have to address it. We can't bury our heads in the sand. That's less than 3 hours away, ladies and gentlemen. We need to pay attention, and we need to be about our business in the city of Fargo. With that, I'm putting it to rest, and I want to welcome now on my Facebook page. I had 2 pictures, and I put it out there as, does anybody know who my next guest is on the show this week? And so I have to say, Christine's going to kill me because just like that, her last name left me. Oh, I'm sorry. Anyway, she won. This gentleman sitting to my right is none other than Bison legend, Bison great, Kenny Clark. Welcome to the show, young man.
Thank you, John. I really appreciate the
So
time.
I got to tell you, it was really fun putting that out.
I didn't see it, so.
Oh yeah, I put it on my personal page. I put it on the WDY page because I wanted people to see those pictures that you put out there. Now, I remember those days, and playing football, it was a game of assassination. Yeah. And if there was a guy, I played defense, I was a linebacker, and you knew you knew who you had to knock out of the game.
Right.
Now, it's funny, we're sitting here talking about we didn't tackle. If you were going to hit somebody, you tried to knock them out of the game. Yeah. There was none of that. Now, my coach always said, you know how you wrap up? You hit them so hard that your arms automatically wrap around them. Yeah.
Right.
That was the way you tackle. Run through his body. If you hit him hard enough, your arms were – I've never forgot that.
Yeah, it was a game of collisions.
Right.
And it's changed. I mean, probably for the better.
Targeting
rules, some of that. But it's still a sport that's more like a war, right? And you're out there to battle. And you were able to flip a switch and go into a different world and for 3 hours on a Saturday and do something that you would get thrown in jail for on any other day of the week.
I had a linebacker coach used to say it's controlled violence, John.
Right.
Right?
It is.
And you had to know because you had guys that couldn't turn it off and there's a 15-yard penalty.
Right.
But during halftime, they generally got a talking to her. You shook them up, but you know what? When you talk about it being war, all I know is that the number of guys and relationships, the guys that coaches say we're going in the battle together.
Yeah.
And even those are lifelong, and it's because of the things that you go through, whether it's practice or on the field, that tie you to those people.
Right.
You know, and it's the struggle. It's the 2-a-days. It's the grind.
Yeah, we did 3-a-days back in that day, and I don't think they even do 2-a-days. We do a morning, afternoon, and then a under the lights special teams practice. So you were grinding for 2.5, 3 weeks, and you definitely develop bonds. You have corporations that try to simulate this, where they, the shared experience thing. You can't replicate what you replicated back in college. It's something that like you had mentioned earlier, when you see these guys that you haven't seen for 20 years,
what's that? Yeah,
you instantly have that rapport back, and it's like you saw this guy yesterday. These are your friends that are lifelong allies. It's just something that's very special.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not only that and as we get older, we were talking about the fact that when I go to games now, I don't remember it being that physical or that violent. But when I seen tapes, it's like, oh yeah, I did play that game. And they're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster, they're more intelligent. Everything is more intricate. And I mean, you look at these guys that are 350 pounds. You look at these guards, the way they pull.
Right.
And I just think to myself, what would I've done? You know, guards when I played were 280. You know, you might get one that was 290.
Yeah, that was a
You
big
know?
line. We had
Yeah.
Spank, and we had some incredible offensive line back in the day in the late '80s.
The Rams.
Right, the Ram, and they're
Yeah.
still the Rams, and that's what I love about NDSU and the traditions, is that I was kind of looking at things, and this all started in '64, '65 under the Mudra era
Mm-hmm.
and Earhart, and that's 60 years ago of Bison football, and we've had 3 losing seasons since then. It's incredible that they still have the same names for the position groups. It's been carried forward by the players, and it's a pretty special place.
I think it comes down to nobody's allowed to reinvent the wheel. You know?
Right.
I mean, and I'll give you an example. When Tyler Roll took over as the offensive coordinator, there was a lot more read option and a little more spread.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember being at the games and listening to fans say, just run A-gap power.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, but he couldn't stray too far away from what Bison fans knew.
Yeah.
And that was hard nose, run it down your throat. And then in the fourth quarter, you're going to be so worn down, you can't possibly.
Yeah.
Which Mr. Byers and I, we've been having this conversation that they're having a hard time finding big, huge linemen.
Right.
You know? And so then there's that shift. And I think that's been the secret to Bison tradition, and the strength of the Bison has been always fast, aggressive, lean, defensive guys like a Phil Hansen, right?
Right.
And then on offense, you always had big, powerful guys like Mike Favor and some of the other guys like Zabels and all the. I mean, they could move.
Right.
And it's like, man, I could not imagine. I mean, these guys are running. And I said, you know, they say that whatever is quarterback you and this play. Well, to me, NDSU is lineman you.
Right. It
You know?
is. Look
I
at
mean-
the NFL people that are there. I mean, you
Yeah.
got, wasn't it the 2019 national championship game? All 5 of those guys that started on the O-line had some kind of NFL opportunity.
Yeah. Well, think about those teams. I mean, how many NFL players in the last
Right.
since this run began?
Yeah.
And even now, I think there's like 18 Bison in the NFL,
Yeah.
as well as coaches.
Yeah.
know?
The coaching tree is incredible.
But that's first, it's a testament to tradition and what you built, but also being a part of something greater than yourself.
Amen.
And talking to Snuff, talking to Mike Favor.
Yeah.
Snuff, he was telling me a story about where his first year he was, I don't know, they had lost or something, but everybody stayed. He said he was going to go home for Christmas break or Thanksgiving. They were like, yeah, no, you're not.
Right.
And everybody stayed for the winter. They stayed and did the work required. They came back early for the summer. And it was, and I was like, well, what did that do to you? And he said, for the first time, it taught me what sacrifice is.
Yeah.
Sacrificing for somebody else because we wanted to win a national title. And I think that's the power of what I see, not, you know, at NDSU, but other programs as well.
Yeah.
Now, all of that is to say this. The reason I wanted to have Ken on is because he is an associate of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And as we were talking, and I met Ken a couple weeks ago, and we were talking, and he let me know, and I thought, you know what? I've talked about a lot of different stuff, but I want to have a show on religion and not preaching and stuff like that, but why do these groups exist? You know? And we're going to hit this when we come back. It looks like we got to go to break because we got to pay some bills. When we come back, if you want to call in, the phone number is 701-293-9000. Mr. Byers, I won't be taking the hat off. We'll see you on the other end of the break. Hey, welcome back to Talking the Town with Jon Adams. I had to throw a little Bison music, the rouser in there just a little bit because it is that time of year. We're getting all fired up. I know Mr. Byers says he's going to be able to get me some cheap seat tickets so I can see a couple games, Right. He talked about getting me down on the stadium floor, but he says you can't sit down if you're down there on the sidelines. And I'm old, so then there's no reason for me to be down there.
Well, let's get seats way up high, you and me.
Hey, my kids will tell you when we go to the Vikings game, we sit way up top.
Right, binoculars there.
Matter of fact, we went to a preseason game, and the number of my kids asked me right away, they were like, where are we sitting? I'm like, well, it's preseason, so we got lower level tickets. Yeah. My wife says, well, if I go, I'm not sitting up there. I'm like, I understand. So anyway, welcome back to Talk to Tom. I'm here with Kenny Clark, Bison legend, Bison great, and one of the leaders at FCA. So let's talk about the Fellowship of Christian Athletes because this has been around a long time. And having a religious background. Growing up as a PK, my dad was a minister. There were a lot of different groups that I was involved in, and Fellowship of Christian Athletes wasn't one of them. Mm-hmm. It didn't exist when I was growing up. But then when I came up here, that was one of the groups. Paul Freese was a wide receiver for the Dragons back when I played it. He was part of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Yeah. So let's talk about the group and then talk about your experience with the group.
Okay. Yeah, I remember first being exposed to the Fellowship of Christian Athletes back in high school. Gene Boyle was one of my high school coaches, and I never really gave it the time of day. Back in those days, I was very much about myself. And then I got to college, and it was pretty much non-existent there. It was a lot of guys that were about themselves, all pulling in the same direction, obviously, because we're winning national championships. But the Christian element was pretty non-existent. I mean, you had guys like Stacy Robinson. I don't know if you know that name.
Oh, yeah.
And just other guys that were strong Christians, but it wasn't as predominant that you see now on the campus of NDSU. It's crazy great.
Well, part of it was, as far as that goes, the football side is we do football here.
Right.
And then the guys that had their, whether it was religion or frat or whatever, when you left, that was where it was. Mm-hmm. And so, we had 4 or 5 guys that would have Bible study. Yeah. And they would invite you, but you'd be like, yeah, I'm going to go to the T. But
that's an old.
But the fact is now, like we prayed before games.
Yeah.
Which I always was kind of curious about who is God rooting for if the other team is praying too. Right. How does he?
Right.
Yeah. So does the team that has more Christians win? I don't know. Something to think about. Yeah, but anyway, right. So you're going along and you got introduced by Gene.
Mm-hmm. But I rejected that. I rejected it all through college and most of my single life afterwards. But I got involved with FCA when I moved to Fargo, and mainly because they had hired a new guy, and his name is Nate Safe, who's a 2-time All-American at NDSU. And Nate approached FCA like he approached the football game, which I appreciate. He just took the bull by the horns, made some real goals and parameters, and it's flourishing. And the state I got on the board with Nate, Chad Stark, numerous other former players and NDSU people have been involved with FCA. And there's a guy at NDSU, Jeff Curtis, who's been the team chaplain for quite a while. Mm-hmm. And he is, God has blessed him with a lot of gifts, and you can see it when you go on the campus there. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it's funny when you said that you really didn't gravitate towards it. Yeah. I know that, growing up in our household, my faith, I've always had my faith, but it was more prayer-centered, more, reading Bible from time to time. And until I got married, church really wasn't in the works.
Right.
And so it's like a lot of having that faith piece started when I met my wife. It's like going back to that journey
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it's like, um, for me, looking at it when the kids came along, it was
Man,
important that they have that faith piece because, you know,
you sound like a mirror image of myself. When
well,
I got married, it was, yeah, I think we should go to church. But when my first daughter, Faith, was born, it was like, you need to be a man. You need to step up. You've got other people who you're responsible for now.
Right.
And I had to get my act together. And I had a friend that asked me about my faith, and my answers were pretty poor.
yeah,
Why I
yeah.
believed in Jesus Christ
Mhm.
and what it meant to me. And I didn't have a foundation, and I knew I was a phony. And so I needed to get my act together, and I was convicted of pursuing the truth, and if the Bible would answer those truths for me. So that's kind of where I started. I just when my first daughter was born, I knew that I had to get my act together.
You look at that baby and you go,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I can't mess this up. And I always said, you know, all right, we'll save that story when we get back. My man is whispering. So we have a caller that's calling in. Stay on the line, caller, because we certainly want to get to you. If you want to call in, the phone number is 701-293-9000. This is Jon Adams for Talk of the Town. Hey, welcome back to. Oh man, we didn't even get to the breakdown on that Thunderstruck, but we'll hear it a lot this season. But anyway, we've got Jerry on the line. He's a Bison faithful. Hey, Jerry, are you still there? I appreciate you waiting.
Oh, yeah, I got two things. One, it's like you talk to any young man between the age of 17 and 22, hey, do you want to go pick up chicks or pick up a Bible? And I think we're all man enough to know which one's going to be the most popular division. But, a lot of times it takes a tragedy for people to get their eyes open. But
Yeah,
I was gonna ask about we have so many offensive linemen that have gone to the NFL. I'm surprised we don't have any defensive linemen that seem to have found much success because I know being able to block for the run is important, but I'm surprised so many of them have had success with the pass blocking because NDSU is not known for a passing team, even though we've got team quarterbacks in the NFL. That
I think
passes a game. It's like, well, that's rare.
Yeah, I think part of it is Bison linemen aren't only big and powerful. Like I always associate A-gap power, but at the same time, a lot of these guys are pulling, and a lot of these guys, what I say, have quick feet. And so that's a rarity to have strength and power in linemen. As far as the defensive side of the ball, they aren't working. The defensive linemen are only working against really top flight linemen when they play the Bison or SDSU.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the other teams are more finesse. They're more this spread offense. So they're not going up against what they would see, but only in practice. But there are a lot of free agent tryouts that happen on the defensive side of the ball. And then it's just a matter of catching lightning in a bottle.
That's probably why they have so much success against like Arizona and Colorado and
yes, absolutely. I think listen, I've been watching Bison football since 1985, and I can tell you that looking at the fact that everything is fundamental, the Bison, it's funny because when you look at it, everything is technically sound from top to bottom. Your read step, the way you pull, and if it's all technically sound, what happens is if I'm sitting next to the guy and I know that he's going to do it exactly right, it all fits like a puzzle. And the years that the Bison didn't have that, or the games that they lost, there were a lot of little things that happened in the details that cost him. But it doesn't happen often because it's player accountability. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine. I was just going to say, like, Ben Ellison didn't have much of a stellar NFL career, but he sure made a quick adaptation to coaching. So.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and it's fundamental, and also it's personality. It's personality. I think that the NFL, there's a certain level of brutality that you have to have, and you have to be cutthroat. And I think that in some ways, maybe guys aren't cut out that way because you got to be ruthless. Yeah. I mean, I know. My cousin played for the Chiefs, and I've met other pros, and they say it's way different once you get to the pros because it is individual. People are going to undermine everything you do. You've got to be in the right situation. It's got to be just perfect, particularly if you're coming out of a small school or a small program. But I want to thank you for calling in there, sir. You want to say hi to Kenny?
Not really.
Okay.
You and everybody else.
I want to thank you for calling in. So have a great day, sir. So thank you for calling in. One thing I do want to get back to is the Fellowship of Christian Athletes because let's talk about the inclusiveness of this group.
Okay.
Because a lot of times when people hear Fellowship of Christian Athletes, first of all, athlete.
Right. My wife says she wants me to petition to change the name to Fellowship of Christian All. Everybody's welcome. And that's what I would like to see. I've kind of moved my position to working more with Davies High School now. Mm-hmm. And I really want to push to get that it's open to all students. Just like the gospel's open to everyone. God wants everyone to be saved and come to a knowledge of the truth. We want everyone to be coming to Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
Right. So how does that happen? I mean,
I think it's just like any good organization. It's word of mouth. It's getting kids out there, talking to them, say, hey, would you like to come to Fellowship, to FCA, and just inviting them and know that it's open to you, right?
So the first thing I think is no. I don't want to sit in a room and talk
Right.
about the Bible. Do you guys do stuff other? I mean, I understand, but are there events around the Bible study, or is it just?
Well, this will be my first year of really working with it at the high school level. I was on the board with the state board and more of the administration type of stuff. I'm really looking forward to getting into the grassroots of things. But I think you just have to open it up. You have to give kids a good experience so that they'll want to share and say, hey, I went to this and it was interesting and it wasn't anything like I thought it would be. It's kind of like I also, with Todd Debates, we started a former players Bible study.
Mm-hmm.
And most of those guys that came to that for the first time said, I didn't want to come.
Oh, yeah.
Chad Stark, I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah.
He said, I didn't want to come to this for years.
Right.
You know, and you should see the change in that guy. He's incredible. And so you just got to go try it and see if it works for you. But that's why we have to, as a group, be inviting and make it something that they want to come to.
So where do these things take place?
The Bible study takes place with the former players at the FCA offices. So that's been real nice. Nate Safe comes.
Where are those located?
They're located over on South University across from the hospital. It's kind of been moving around, but since the offices moved right by U.S. Bank.
Okay. Yep.
So we do that whenever the Bison have a home game, and then we do a spring study too. And it's got guys from playing in the 70s to guys who just gotten out. So you got like 6 decades of different people. And when I say all, I mean all. And this may seem crazy to you, but we got UND guys going to it. Jonesy, I know you're out there.
I don't even want to say what I was going to.
So we open the gospel up to everybody, and that's the way FCA should
So
be.
how do the high schoolers work then? Is it just do the high schoolers mix with the Bison players?
No. That's a separate group. That's what we call the Bison Brotherhood Bible Study. That's started by former players of just football, and then it evolved in getting some basketball guys, and then now we've expanded into getting guys from Grand Forks, and just open it up to everybody because it's for everyone, and that's the way FCA should be, and hopefully will be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so at the high school level, that's what I would like to see. Like you got Coach Wayne Wermeyer running, basically hosting the FCA huddle.
Okay.
And then, so you got a lot of football guys, but I want to see the cross country girls. I want to see it just spread. And then you get into theater. Then you just get into the students, and they're welcome too.
See,
So,
and
right?
I think that you're spot on because, you know, when I like to use the word silos when I talk about various things, and so you know you have the FCA silo, and then you have these other silos like the track team, the tennis team, and stuff like that, and it's like, how do you get all of them to have that experience? To me, it sounds like you need to have a big gala of some sort, or maybe a fair or something that draws them, and then have the meeting or something like that.
Yeah, and that's what I like ideas, you know,
Right.
and we got to get a base route going, and then open it up to people and let them experience it.
So are the churches involved in FCA? Do you have pastors that are involved?
No, it's non-denominational. It's mostly evangelical, but it's non-denominational.
I like that.
Right?
Yeah,
I
because
mean,
it's like, hey, you know, to me, the Bible is the Bible.
the Bible's
Okay?
the Bible. Amen.
And before the cat, oh man, I almost said it. Before organized religion came along, it didn't matter. All you had to do was believe and have faith.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when people ask me, like, I don't do organized religion.
Yeah.
But I do the Bible.
Right.
I follow the teachings of Jesus Christ. And so, you know, when I'm talking to young people and that comes up, it's like, hey, listen, everybody has a piece of Christ.
Right.
Okay? That's the way it is. I don't own him. And if that's what you want, if you want to feel like I feel contentment when I pray or when I have issues and I can leave it there with the Lord, I said, that's what I get out of it.
Yeah.
It may be different for you. I don't know, but helping people understand that it's not this, you know, I don't want to say the holier than thou image, but that's a lot of what people think it is, that it's this closed group and you've got to live the right way and act the right way. And I always tell people, look, man, Jesus hung out with everybody,
Right.
with everybody.
Yeah.
So then we shouldn't be excluding anybody, and that's for God to decide. And we all
Amen,
stand
brother.
in judgment.
Amen. I love it.
So
When people ask me what church I go to, right, I said, what are you? And I said, well, I'm a Christian. They go, what church you go to? I go, this is church.
Right.
What we're doing right now is church. Church is every day. It's every interaction you have with a person, right? You should be living your faith. It's not going to a building on a Sunday.
You're killing me. Maybe we're brothers from
Another mother.
because
But we're
my
brothers
dad
from
always
the
used
same
to
father, I can tell you that much.
Well, my dad used to say, "Where two gather in my name,"
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
And that was something that Billy T, my boy Billy T. That's my spiritual. He and I have talks about it.
Yeah.
Because you have to have that one person that's willing to hold that mirror up to you and show you the things that you don't want to see. Because if not, we can as people we can get pretty full of who we are.
Amen.
And
Amen.
we gotta have. And I always say, the Lord and Geraldine says, you've got people all over this town that just look out for you. You don't have to do anything. I'm like, well, the Lord sent them. What do you want me to do?
Right.
But I'm glad that you're on and that we're having this conversation because people need to hear this and need to have an avenue. I think now more than ever with all the rhetoric that's coming out of the federal government, all of the things, and to me it's like sometimes we have to slow down and we have to have these conversations about faith and about the Lord. And it sounds like we're up against our last break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little more Bison football. We're going to talk some FCA with the legendary Kenny Clark. If you want to call in, the phone number is 701-293-9000. Hey, welcome back to the final segment of Talk of the Town with Jon Adams. I'm here with the Bison legend, Kenny Clark. That's your name, Kenny Clark, right?
Correct.
Man, I have trouble with names. Anyway, so let's talk about the high school piece of FCA.
Mm-hmm.
If kids want to find out about it, how can they do that?
Well, you'd go to the huddle leader first, which would be at our school is Wayne Weirmeyer, but we're trying to get a huddle leader in every school in the state. Nate has laid out a very intricate plan. I think we're in like 30%. At one point, it was way, way down, and he had like a 10-year program that we're going to try to get a huddle leader, get a representative in every school in the state. It's a pretty ambitious goal.
It's ambitious, and I'll tell you what, we'll have another show. I can guarantee that, where we can get a few more of the FCA guys on, because I think it's important.
Yeah,
I think this entity is what we need at this time.
Right.
You know,
I agree completely.
Dude, I honestly feel like people need to see this. People need to see good men like you out in the community. You know, they need to see that there are people that care. Because if you look at the media portion, we see a lot of things but that. Yeah. So I want to thank you for that piece. Now, I would be remiss, and I always do this with every one of my guests. We don't do this on our own. And I thank my wife every day, even though she's a little bit mad at me, because when she gets sick, I'm like, ew. But I say it all the time, you know, the Lord sent me my person. Yeah. And she's amazing, and so go ahead and give your wife a shout out.
Well, I was a single dad for 10 years. Okay. So I was raising my 4 girls, and I was pouring into them. And I felt like I was doing fine. Like, this is fine. But then I knew this woman who was going through a very difficult time, and I knew I had been through difficult times. And so I could help this woman out. And so I started talking to her. She was going through a divorce, and just helping her find peace in Jesus Christ. I mean, God puts us through difficult times so that we can see him clearly. And I met her, and eventually we became in a relationship and got married. And it's like, you don't know how good you got it till you didn't have it, right? And it's just like, she is, like the Bible saw Adam and said, it's not good for that guy to be alone. Right? Oh, yeah. And it wasn't. And she's my easer. She's my, my helpmate. She's my everything. And it's great to have a friend and a woman I can talk to. We do devotionals every morning. And it's been a huge blessing. I just praise God for her.
There's something to say. I said it before on the show that you really don't know how great it is until you actually have your person.
Right.
And your kids grow up and they move away.
Yeah.
Parents die, people get consumed with their lives and their families. But when you have that one person, your peace, there's nothing like it, right?
Yeah. And I live in a blended family, and blended families are tough, right? But I think my girls will come to appreciate my wife, Barb, so much, knowing that their dad's taken care of, and they can go live their life. We raise kids to be adults and to go live their lives and contribute. Right. And they can go and do their thing knowing that I'm completely content.
Right.
Right.
And they see that also there's the modeling piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. That they see what a loving relation looks like.
How should a husband treat his wife?
Right. And we don't do it right all the time.
No.
But for sure. But that's the beauty of it. They love us anyway.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I say. She loves me in spite of myself. Say hello to your babies real quick.
Yeah. Hey, girls. Hi, Faith, Anna, Jordan, Sarah. Love you guys. Hope you're having a great day.
So this has been Talk of the Town with Jon Adams. I want to say, again, I started off on a rant at the beginning of the show, but these things, and I don't know, since I turned 60, it seems like I take things to heart more than I used to. Mm-hmm. And seeing the tragedy that's unfolding in Minneapolis, I really want to implore people, we need to keep an eye on our communities, each and every one of us, and be involved with these young people as well. I've said it before. I don't know any other place on the planet where people care and love each other as much as they do in the city of Fargo. and it may not present itself all the time, but it's there and it's an undercurrent. And my life and the people that I have met is testament to that. You know, regardless of race, political, religion, there are people across the spectrum who have helped me develop and become the person I am. Not that I'm all that, but really, I feel a part of this community. I love this community. I love the fact that I have the opportunity to do this. And so I got 30 seconds to say everything else. First, I'm going to say go Bison, go Drags. Can they repeat?
Oh, for sure.
There it is. You have it.
Oh, for sure.
Kenny Clark says, no problem. Well, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. You guys have a great week. Do something positive for somebody. And as always, stay black.